Hello, everyone in the ILPS. You know who I am, Julian Ichim. This here is my father, Dumitru Ichim, who I would like to say is the spiritual founder of the International 32 CSM. This started when he came back from going to Alberta and through the West and seeing how the Indigenous people live there and some of his own childhood wasn't that good. He was telling me stories about during World War II. He would ask his mom, Nam pain, bringing an empty pot, and there was no flour for bread, and that sort of stuff. And many times, he's not as mean as he looks. Many times, he would let my friends come and sleep in the house and stuff. And we would always ask him because he was always interested
The
about
native, our
yeah,
friend.
because you're always interested in how they lived and what was going on. And if this was native land, what was Canada? And so he went to see for himself. And these are the poems. We'll bring them up here on Word and he'll read them to you. And I just want you to know that every word he uses here, none of them is made up. He looked them all up and he wrote a whole book about this because he wants the people in Romania to know that Canada isn't this just nice place and the natives just walked away, that they were murdered, genocided. Let him say it in his poems. It's much better than me. One thing I would like to say that my dad brought in one of his poems that really touched me is I used to be a troublemaker and I used to lie and I would go into the washroom in the middle of the house and my grandma would always ask who did this and I'd look for who wasn't around and I blamed them. And one day it was my dad I blamed and my grandma and dad didn't get along because she was one type of nationality and he's Moldovan, although he would say we're all Romanian because he's a Republican, a real Republican, not like whatever that believes in a republic, not like Moldova, Oltenia, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, the point is, theft was fine, beating the fuck out of people was fine, everything was fine, but lying was never fine. And I never really understood that till it was explained to me a few times. And then when my dad read this poem, it reminded me of it. I'll let you try to guess which one it is. So let's bring up the word and get started. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about what happened? That's the wrong one. Word. Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened? It's still taping. Mhm.
The Ballad of the Sun, addressed to Bakantanga, the mountain people of the last mountain, which whisper to them everything about the heaven and the drums of the moon, like children of the coming storm, with the palms hitting the
Drum.
drums.
You can just press down here and goes down. Sorry about that. ILPS always has problems with this. Joma even had some.
Better to start from the beginning.
Okay.
The Ballad of the Sun addressed to Bakantanga, the mountain people of the last mountain, which whisper to them everything about the heaven and the drums of the moon, like children of the coming storm, with the palms hitting the drums.
Yeah.
Yahe nakoda ehage nakoda ehage 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 nakoda. But the white man does not understand.
Not even the whisper of the wilderness, only his language of barbed wire, blood drenched, ripping the flesh of his fellow man as easy as his reading. He doesn't understand the tale of the buffalo, which the great plains freely gave us, nor the scriptures of the eagle, how to remain forever young through love. He even showed us that our bones are white, for that is all he left us. From the rocky mountains to the magnificent great plains, all that can be seen are our white bones, our white bones. You spoke well, white man, twin brother of death, but our love and rage has defeated the Wendigo before, and once again we will roam this land, as free as the sky, as strong as the mountains, and the hearts will remember the seven grandfathers. No, not redskins, but red drums, like the heart of the Almighty Wakantonga, like the flames of the love consuming the old world, so we can sip from the kiss of the mortal ruby, singing like the red souls through our lands.
Yahe nakoda,
Nakota,
ehage nakoda,
Nakota,
ehage, 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 ehage
Nakota.
nakoda.
Now, this is the second poem. Just give us a second to find it. It was originally called White War Morning, but we didn't want people to think it was like a white morning, like people wake up and it's white. Many people remember the yellow ribbon, which was like a swastika pretty much, and those of us from Ireland know what the black ribbon means and what the black flag means. So instead of calling it white morning, we call it white wailing.
The white man hunted our people until all that was left were the names of rivers and mountains. Instead of the black ribbon, Mount Yoho, the mighty, wears on its peak the white ribbon of our shame. What about the name Niagara? Why does you care what it means? The crazy bride shove the sky firmament
And laughs and laughs and laughs.
She's dressed in all in white, the color morning, the armband showed. Move it.
Also,
The,
the arm.
I have somebody helping so bad. The armband also can be seen on the moon, the river, and the mountains.
Now, this is a poem I was talking to you about earlier. This one is coming up right now.
All the translation are made by my son Julian. He's a poet and
bad with computers. It's true, but it's fun.
And sometimes he has some problems translated directly from Romanian. We have for the word buffalo in Romanian is zimbru, and he translated with zebra.
Yeah, zebra. And my dad's like, have you ever seen a zebra in all your travels in North America, Turtle Island? I'm like, no. I was wondering why he talked about zebras. But anyways, the point is lying. This is like names are important.
And teepee.
Yeah.
And puffing from the pipe handed to me, I begged, don't mention teepee. Yet he smiled, turning his head. Said true words and quite bitter, never ever trust the word of the white man. Many times he speaks without his true name. Teepee are our hearts in the form of the cone gifted to us by the bear or the buffalo. Everything has a teepee because everything is gifted with spirit. In rock lies the soul of the mountain. In water is the spirit of the flies over rivers. Therefore, you see it after the rain, how they move their tails. Even the peacocks and us, all of us feel the money too of the teepee. Like snail, we drag our house. Never trust one born outside the teepee, for his home is outside of the world and very far from his true name. And like the lake and forest and sea, it is only written on paper, dry maps painted and hard like the white man's heart.
Can you tell us just quickly what inspired you with Mount Yoho, particularly, which is another one of the poems in your book?
Yeah, all my book is about yoho. When I came to British Columbia and looking for to document my book about the seven sacred teaching of the elders, going after the uh, spirituality of natives. For the first time, I met the mountains, beautiful mountains, rocky rivers, rocky mountains. And it was something like a revelation. You see, in the Bible, God is talking in revelation to a man by a sound. Moses heard a sound. But here, the revelation for me, it was by eye. I saw something very beyond the words. And I asked, what is the name of that range of mountains? And the range of mountains is called Yoho. However, uh, they have another name. So here,
Yoho.
Yoho in the dialect of Cree means awe and marvel. So that is for the mountain. They see so poetically awe and marvel.
Mhm.
And then I realized how the white man, the American, uh, made the kind of pornography, eco
It is pornography,
pornography,
eco-pornography,
eco
exactly.
pornography, calling these beautiful mountains the Robson President, Secretary Mountain, and Earhart Mountain. So why not call like the native Yoho?
After all,
And if Yoho for me became a personage, somebody, uh,
in the book.
a character in a book, and every day I was writing. I was so impressed. Every day I was writing a poem, and all this made a book.
And you were very depressed seeing the tar sands destruction of this and how for our comfort we have colonialism, genocide, and murder, and how we have a responsibility.
Yeah, you can imagine this country, the turtle,
Turtle Island.
in their mythology is called Turtle Island, that is American continent. And this belongs to them. And the white man came, and by treaty, false treaty and trickery, and they
Murder and
and
genocide.
murder and
More than Mao, Hitler, and Stalin combined.
yeah, and finally, from their country remains only the names, and they push them in reservation. And when you look all around Canada or United States, all are Indians' name. Mississauga here, Muskoka, um, South Dakota, and
And we had a native friend of mine here today earlier, and he injected a little bit of opioids, not a large quantity, and I was giving him Narcan. But really, my dad told me this, but I didn't put two and two together. It was because he was dehydrated. It was minus 30 or something, right?
right, it was
And the
such
cops were
a
laughing. Like, they
such
were
a
laughing.
stupid thing. You can solve this tragic problem with a glass of water. He was dehydrated.
Yeah, I almost killed the guy. I almost killed like a good friend of mine. I gave him like 6, 7 cases of naloxone. He wasn't coming back. And the police were laughing because to them it was another stupid drunk native, ignoring the fact that the Constitution and the idea of democracy comes from the indigenous people. And it comes from the Confederacy, 6 nations. Anyways, thank you very much for listening to this. And thank you, ILPS. I will see you soon, and so will my father. Bye.
Cum poți să-ți bagi joc de mine?
Cum?
Păi da, na.